Today's world is immersed in chaos, civil unrest, and destruction. And it makes you wonder, can human beings even embrace the concept of peace? So on today's show, I will be talking to a speaker and life coach on the ancient African philosophy Ubuntu, which is believed to be the key to harmony and peace. I am your host, Ms. Entertainment. Let's talk about it. This is your girl, Ms. Entertainment. I am your host for Let's Talk About It. So welcome to my world. We're getting ready to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Welcome, life coach and speaker, Mallom Liggon.
Well, hello, Mr. Mallom. How are you? And thank you for joining me today.
Good speaking to you, Teresa. How are you doing? I'm doing well.
All is well, all is well, all is well. So let's get it started.
I'm excited.
Ubuntu. What's that? Tell me all about it.
And let me just make sure I do the spelling too. U-B-U-N-T-U.
All right.
There may be some variation of it, but it's a term that's used throughout the entire continent of Africa. And its English translation is really rough. I'm going to first give you the translation and try to explain this. It's based on a philosophy, a way of living. It's really the essence of humanity.
Okay.
The best translation I've heard, and I got this when I was in South Africa, is I am because you are. There's simply, I am because you are. And it really speaks to the concept of the reason why we are humans, that we know we exist, and how we become who we are is because of other people around us. This thing, the way you learn to speak, is just because there were other people speaking. You speak the language of the people that were speaking around you. And as we start to connect into this, then we began to learn more about, our purpose on this planet. So it's a phenomenal philosophy. And I try to live my life by that philosophy. I fail every day and I get up and I try again every day.
So how long has this philosophy been around?
It's long, and I think it predates any of the theological or the religions that are out there predating. This is something that's just been on the continent. And it's amazing how it spread. Again, I came across it in South Africa. Nelson Mandela, when he went to prison, he practiced that philosophy. And it was one of the ways he came out without bitterness. In fact, he transformed the people that he met in prison, his enemies, toward him. Also, Bishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa speaks quite often about Ubuntu. It doesn't act in conflict with most of the major religions, because if you think about it, it's simply the same thing. You do unto others as they do unto you. Why? Because Ubuntu. I am because of who you are. So it connects to that. I also came across this philosophy being practiced in West Africa. The Hausa people in Nigeria were practicing it, and the majority of them practice Islam as well. And I saw some of this being practiced along the West Coast, going to Sierra Leone and also in Ghana. So this is a widespread principle that practice. And the reason why, and I'll tell you one more thing. I don't know if you remember the year that the Boston Celtics won the NBA championship. Doc Rivers was the coach. And he introduced this principle to the team, and that was their mantra throughout the entire year. So before they came out the locker room, they would chant, Ubuntu. And they knew that's how we were going to play together. And, me working in sports, having access to that and observing that, went, wow, that's deep. This is really starting to resonate with me more now because we're in the times of change. We think about it, we have 3 storms we're combating at the same time. This COVID health crisis that we're dealing with, this pandemic, this financial crisis that's impacting us as a people. And the third thing is this social justice, right? There's this unrest going on.
I would say social injustice, but yes.
Yeah, you could say, there's no justice, just us, actually, is what it feels like. And again, I'm speaking across the world this is occurring. So these things that I'm speaking about now, all three of those occurrences are impacting people across the world. Statistically, people of color are being disproportionately impacted. So they're impacted. So when the world has a cold, people of color have the flu. So, but this concept of Ubuntu is one of the principles that we hold on to collectively. It's our gift, right? A universal law that can help us as we navigate through these changes and move forward.
So talk more, how do you practice? I mean, what are some of the ways you practice this?
Sure. I'll give you some examples. The first thing that you see right in front of us is the idea that we're all connected is just simply look at what's going on with COVID, right? Someone, allegedly gets sick in China, and now everyone in the world, this thing is spreading and connecting to all of it. So it's showing that we all are interconnected, not just connected, but interconnected. So one of the ways that I practice it is I believe that the energy I put out into the world when I'm moving, right, because we all are interconnected, is the energy that I'm receiving back. So you can imagine this concept, and I try to keep this top of mind when I'm dealing with people, especially getting on my last nerve, right? But try to imagine this concept. If you're in a cave and you yell out, hello, what would echo back to you would be, hello, hello, hello. And I'm just talking about a sound frequency, but think about all the other energies that you put out into the universe and how they all just come back at you. So the way I practice it in my life is to think, if I want change in this world, I have to be the change and act toward that change versus trying to put out a different energy and wanting something back differently. And you see this when you make breakfast too, right? If I squeeze an orange, what comes out of it, right? Its essence is orange juice, right? So when we're being squeezed in this time, what's really coming out of us is what's really in our hearts. So I
can see that some people are getting squeezed and some brown stuff are coming out, but okay.
real weird stuff coming out. Some people. That's revealing. The pressure is, but that used to say pressure buster, but it doesn't build character. It actually reveals it, and it shows who we are. And so, by giving you that construct, imagine this type of dynamic with a conflict. Someone comes to you, and they get you incredibly upset. They say something to you that's hurtful. One of the ways that you can look at it is that person, look what they did to me. And you can claim that you are a victim in that dynamic. Or you can look to not managing what that person's done, but managing your thought process about what they've done to you, right? Because hurt people tend to hurt people. So now that they have that thought process, I now can engage, right, using my EQ and my heart, right, in a responsive way toward that person. So I can think, okay, you have a right to your feelings. I'm not going to take it personal. It's about who you are, right? It's revealing who you are. And what's revealing in me is who I want to be. So Ubuntu is not practiced as a principle just to be kind to others in the world. It really is about loving yourself.
Loving yourself. Okay. So, and that's interesting of how you put that as far as like how you respond to someone that really got on your last nerves. Because I had one that happened today. Somebody that hit me up. Like, I haven't talked to this person in over a year. And before that, I only talked to her once.
Yeah.
She's trying to ask me for money. And I'm like, I haven't talked to you. I'm like, I felt offended that you asked me for money. But she felt offended because I said no. I'm writing an article. Why are you mad? But anyway.
That's a good one. Isn't that funny how people who don't have money want to tell you what to do, tell people who do have money what to do with it. So we become the fools when we follow their advice.
Right. I mean, she pulled out the black card and it's like, really? I don't know you. It's like, I was offended, but I didn't get outright. But I wanted to express to her that in a nice way, the audacity that you contact me and I haven't heard from you. You didn't even start off the conversation of how I'm doing, but yet you're asking me for money. But then her response was, "Well, it's fake for me to text you to see how you doing, but it's not fake for you to ask me for money." But anyway, but let's go back to Ubuntu now.
That's a great example.
Ubuntu helped me get through this.
That's a phenomenal example. So there are three things that you want to look at with that example. I'm glad you brought that up. The very first is when that person called you and said something to you that bothered you, the most important thing to look at when you're cut is what opens up in you, not what cuts you.
Okay, because I didn't go off, but I still needed to express the fact that you offended me.
That's correct.
But in a nice way. But it's like, you still offended me by asking me for money and don't even know me.
That's correct. But if you went to the hospital and you had a gash and you were cut open, if you want the doctor to spend their time worrying about what cut you, or spend that time thinking about how do I stop that infection and close that cut up, right? The very first thing you do in that scenario is, okay, I've been cut. There's an ouch. Address that first before you address the person that cut you.
I guess kind of, because she said it's only $100.
To her, only $100. But if it's only $100, then you don't need to ask me for it. You would have only $100.
Like I said, but I get to address the cut itself. So I'm like, I guess in this situation, what would be, because I felt cut, but what would actually be the cut, trying to address the wound?
We're going to go in now, T.
Yeah, let's get into it.
There's something about perhaps in you that you want to examine, like, why did that bother me? People ask for money all the time, and she was rude, she didn't check on your day, wow, right? But it sounds like not a person you want calling you anyway. So what about that for you that's unresolved, right? Remember, Ubuntu is, I am because you are, but it's the essence of the first part of that love, to love myself. So I'm looking to me, I'm hugging me, I'm saying, well, what about that really gets to me? Because it could be revealing something that's bothering you. Remember, the things that kill you are the silent killers. That's the thing that's most dangerous. You could talk to anyone that's played football. And I remember my son playing high school football, my oldest son. And man, he just went down to a game in Savannah and boom, just knocked out. I said, son, did that hurt? He said, not as bad as the hit I took earlier. And I was like, really? He said, yeah, because the one earlier I didn't see coming. Right? That's what kills you, is what you don't see coming. So actually, if you think about it, maybe you can consider thanking that person, because they see there's a part in you that you have to take some time. And it's not just you, Teresa, and we're using you, but in general, there's a part in you that you have to take some time looking at this. Hold on. What's going on here? Why did I let that take me off of my piece? Because she doesn't have the authority to take your piece. You gave her permission to do that.
You're right.
What was that about? Right? And it could be as simple as, and I'm not giving you some deep, dark past. It could be as simple as you just didn't have a response to why she asked you what she asked you, right? Why you probably didn't have a, so sometimes maybe you have a challenge. Again, I'm speaking in general, Teresa, but you could have a challenge with saying no.
No, that's not the problem.
Okay, I got you. Some people do.
And say no.
Some people do, right? Or maybe you wish, man, I wish I. Or maybe you say, why are people constantly in this situation? But it could be a number of things, but it's really important first to love yourself and address you. That's the very first thing to do, is address that. The second thing to do is you want to make sure that you don't get cut again, right? So we love all people, but some people we have to love from a distance. Which is why we're on video right now. I'm not just sitting from a distance right now, because we're in the era of COVID, right?
Right,
so you want to love for the distance. And then the third thing is you have a right to give that person constructive feedback too, which it sounds like you did.
I did, and you know, it was that angel and that devil sitting on the shoulder, because the angel said, "Just tell her no, thank you," because she asked me in a way of that gifting. I don't know if you heard that, where this group of people get in with the money, and then somebody gets the money, and it goes around. But it's like I said no, thank you, and I could have left it as that, but that devil.
What you talking about?
Had to respond of like, but I was like, by the way, how are you doing? Because since we haven't talked in years, it's like my family's doing fine.
Yes.
But I could have just avoided all that and just let her go.
Yeah. Yeah. We getting hit with that. And these times everything's popping up. You know, it was years ago when I was young. I remember we would get these, like, you know, these giftings, and I'll get my blessing, and then you'll get yours if you get 8 people, and we're back at that, doing that now.
I've never heard of that. So I mean, so this is nothing new.
Old stuff. Oh man, yeah, that goes back. Susus, they used to call them. There's all these different names for them. They're all pyramid type dynamics, right? Some people get together, they start a pool of money, and someone else gets the pool, and someone else gets a pool, right? It'll fall on someone ultimately. Just think about the concept of it. But it's, I mean, the other part is our empathy for the person. And I think part of what the empathy for that person could be is we are being introduced to a Western sort of Eurocentric construct of exchange for things, where now currency, you know, Wu-Tang Clan has this song called Cash, Cream, cash rules everything around me, right? Which between me and food is money, right? Not the weeds in the yard. Like you know, I was telling you about one time, like the dandelions that you can out of and get healthy from, not, you know, the fruit directly from the ground. Now we've lost that sort of connection. You know, even the seeds, even the fruit we get now is seedless. Someone else is owning the seeds of that fruit.
Yeah, I don't understand how that happens. But I know it is growing up, and that's a lab thing. But you know,
yeah, it's crazy, right? And it's just talent that now you're starting to take something that's organic and make it inorganic, and then selling it to us, what was natural. So we've been impacted.
We're buying it.
Yeah.
Who's crazy?
Yeah.
Or are we buying it?
Yeah, and we're buying it. You're right. We're buying it because and we're doing that with other things too, though. Like if I gave you a large cup of orange juice, right? Not you, but most people, you know, could say, hey, I'm going to drink it. But if I say, okay, I see 10 oranges right now, you're like, nah, dude, I'm cool with 1. Right? They found ways, you know, once we started taking things to currency, right, and making it to capitalism and moving into that dynamic, now when things go from profit to profit, the other profit, then it's all about how can we get ahead. And for so many of us, because we've been excluded from that game, we're just behind. If you think of the black-white wealth gap, it's in some data it's 7-1, and some it's 10-1. So in other words, to say if you meet your average white person, the average black person, that average white person is 10 times wealthier, right? In terms of, and I'm not talking about, what car you have and things you have. I mean, in terms of like money in the stock market, money saved, some back on that you have for yourself, right? That's all been torn apart. And then we've lost the ability, like this is because we lost Ubuntu. That's the most important thing. We lost the ability to interact and exchange with each other, right? The word hoods is the back end of the word neighborhoods. We're not neighbors anymore. That's what makes a hood. It's not about poverty, right? It's about our failure to be able to interact and exchange with each other. So if we did have a true principle of Ubuntu, right? A true concept of I am who I am because of who you are, then that part of we even need to put money in and you get blessed and I get blessed and I get blessed wouldn't even have to exist. It wouldn't even exist, right? We can fall back to that type of exchange. We can move into a dynamic whereby, you know, I have sufficient money, and whatever I have left, I can share with you. It's not necessarily have to be money. It can be my skills and my talents.
Yes.
You know, so much of these principles have just been stripped from us, and they're artifacts of a slave culture that was, I mean, this deep chattel slavery that there's a book called Half the Story Has Never Been Told. And many of us need to really read that book. Once they changed the cotton gin, once Eli Whitney created that cotton gin, and you move from black seed cotton, which is coastal, that you can grind down, until now we can grind green seed cotton, you then took slavery and made this full-on profit mechanism. And many of us were re-kidnapped, brought back down into Deep South and hidden away and working on plantations. And that stuff still exists today. And the way I can prove it to you is, anyone, you think that your chickens will walk around on a farm. You think that the beef you're getting is walking around out there moving like a cow. But you go ask these companies where this meat's coming from. You don't even know. They're coming from factories. And it's exactly what happened before, right? It's stuff being hidden away. You have no concept what's happening. Mm-hmm. And then we're just consuming it. You know, so that gets to the third part of like really working on the empathy for the other person can help too. Like the understanding that they just, you know, there's only two reasons why someone doesn't do what they should do. They either can't or they choose not to. And, you know, whatever that reason is, you know, empathy for them. We're talking $100. Isn't that sad?
Yeah. So I have to, like I said, I had to check myself because it did rub me the wrong way. But the reason, you're right. I need to figure out why, because I could have walked away and left that totally alone by just saying no, thank you. But no, I had to come back. It's like I had to remind her the fact that you have not taken that one time. We only talked one time, and it was about an idea of hers that somebody told me to ask her to reach out to me, and then that was the only time. But yet, in your whole conversation, that's the only thing that you can talk about is me giving you money, and it's like.
And I'm glad that happened and you followed up, because that's showing you there's something within you that you might want to take some time to sit with. That's my point.
And you're right. And it's like as I'm talking, and then she getting upset, and I was like, wait, this is going in a whole different direction that wasn't intended. I was like, this is not good for my spirit or my character. So only thing I can tell you at this point is just be blessed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to keep on moving.
And basically, please don't call my phone. Don't text me. No, nothing. You might get a block. But anyway.
I love that. but that okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I want you to tell me some more great things about Ubuntu and how can when those little situations come up, I can keep that devil. Don't get off.
Yeah. Just go. But I'm glad that that's happened, because it's not happening to you. It is happening to you, but it's also happening for you. Mm-hmm. Right. And where it becomes that growth is when you can just take a chance to look at that and say, okay, first I'm going to address me with I'm just restating, what's going on with me, because whatever you cut, what opens up in you is far more important than what cuts you. It always is. You do make sure that it doesn't cut you again. And then the third thing is having that empathy for that. And again, it's for you. They don't use the word Ubuntu in Asia as far as I know of. But when I was in China, I got really upset with someone. I was in business school, and I remember a Chinese professor came by to me, and he said, being mad at that person is like drinking poison and expecting them to die.
I can see that, because being upset or angry, especially to a level that you're taking out of your character or your normal self, is so wasted, because now you're going to spend all this time just pissed off. And, and it's like, then it just takes time off your life. And it's like, why?
And you're sending out that energy, and what do we talk about in the cave? It's echoing back to you. Hello. Oh, hello. Anger.
It comes back.
Yes.
It does.
You can pray all day. I'm going to say hello. Please come back. Chinese food. That is not going to come back. Like the Most High, creator of this entire universe, is not going to just alter universal law because you are not getting what the plan is. He's saying, we're not trying to change the plan. We're trying to get you to change, to adapt to the plan. It's a powerful thing. And I'm going to go to a really deep principle because you tapped onto this, and this always happens when we talk. I want to suggest that also the thing that bothered you about what she did is while we're pointing the finger, we're pointing that finger at her, or pointing back. So there's an aspect within you to maybe look at and see, that's some part of me that I don't really like about myself.
I agree, because I could have walked away from that and didn't be done with it, but no. So you're right. I got to check myself. It's like, why even go down that road when you already know where it's going to lead you?
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad she called. She gave you a chance to practice.
Yeah, and I practiced my Ubuntu. I failed a little bit, but I recovered.
Practice Ubuntu today. That's what it's about. It's like,
I recovered.
You say, man, thank you. Call up. Say, thank you for helping me practice my Ubuntu.
No, we done.
You're not going to do that?
We're out.
I was worth $100 right there. I can tell you do some counseling. That's like $120, $160 an hour. So you got some free counseling.
That is such a wrap. No more conversation. I'm so good.
But part of that, and that's I really want to keep sharing this principle as many people as possible, and I'm glad that we're talking about it because I think that's the avenue to kind of get us out of this problem. So much of what we're suffering from right now are things that are financial or civil in matter, but we realize that the thing that's really hurting us is there's a crisis of our hearts. There's a crisis of us, like again, being in hoods because we don't know how to be neighbors. There's a crisis of, how little the dollar circulates within the Black community. It stays in there with minutes. And how we're unable to engage and interact with one another. That is the big teardown. That's the big breakdown. How do you take something that I'm talking on a scientific form now, right? Melanite, actually dominant, right? Not recessive in terms of traits, in terms of, you can get together with Donald Trump. I don't care how high he is. That's going to be a Black baby, right? And how did we get to a point where, we're kind of feeling like we don't have power or we're being oppressed? Like that's really what's at crisis with us. We can fix all the civility, and we should. We could fix the financial dynamic. You could hand that woman $1,000. My guess is we got it in a place where she needs to go down that path. With $100, she'll just repeat that with 1,000 as well.
Agreed.
So not solved. That isn't solved for it, right? The crisis is literally a crisis of our spirit. And I talk a lot about this deep, and this gets really deep. So pull me back to get too deep. But the etymology of the word spirit is breath.
Oh yes.
Right. So we actually, they give you the example. I'm laying here dead. You call up 911. He's on the other end of the Zoom call, and they're going to say, "Is he breathing?" No, he's not breathing. I know he's dead. Or you could say his spirit left his body. My body will still be there, right? It'll start rotting, but the animation of who I am is breath. Right. That's what your spirit. That is the same exact word. If you look up the word spirit and put etymology next to it, it'll show you a word tree, and it'll go to spire, inspire, to breathe. And we have forgotten how to breathe. We've forgotten how to remember, it starts with ourselves. And then we can move to the engagement with others and then with the universe. Now, this is going to tie back to Ubuntu. When you breathe in your oxygen, right? If you're breathing properly, which by the way, very important, we have to breathe through our noses.
Why?
Because, and this is biblical, you were formed from dust, he breathed life into your nostrils. But your nose is designed to take oxygen and distribute it, and it's impacting other cells, right? It's creating carbon dioxide that's moving out throughout your body. We start mouth breathing. What happens is your body adapts. So your nose goes, okay, let me start getting smaller because you don't need me as much, right? And our mouths get smaller, and we start dealing with all type of issues, dental issues, throat issues. We start dealing with heart issues, We're dealing with men are dealing with issues of not being able to function, erectile dysfunction they're dealing with. All of that is all impacted to the fact that we have forgotten how to breathe properly. And some of it is because we've been impacted in our environment with so much ailment that clogs up our sinuses and swells us up that we have to open our mouth just to breathe. But we've got to fight to learn to get back to nose breathing and changing those things about what's happening with us, right? Because how you breathe, that's the essence of who you are. Just think of this. You can go the entire day without eating. Like some days I get up and I'll pray and fast and I'm fine. You can go the whole day without drinking. Now you're going to get a headache. I don't recommend that, right? You want to stay hydrated. But I mean, no one's saying, hey, I'm just going to chill on my breathing.
No, you can't. You only got a couple of minutes on that one, and then it's a wrap.
That's a wrap, right? And you can't now, and some people, like really deep mystic people, believe you all come to this planet with a limited amount of breaths. And how you take those, right? The quality of those breaths really dictate the quality of your life. It's a really positive concept. So I'm going to tie it back to Ubuntu. So you're breathing in. Now, the quality of the air you breathe in, which is really important, breathe in through your nose. Even more important than that is your exhale, right? So what we really want to try to get to is, and you know, the experts get a little different than that, but like 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out. And I try to tell myself to exhale a little longer than that inhale, just because that creates a balance. Like, sort of like you overcompensate to create a balance. But when you're breathing out, the universe, everything around you, the trees, the plants, all of those things, they're absorbing that. And the quality that they absorb in your breathe out is directly connected to the quality of the oxygen that they exhale back to you. So there's an interdependency with everything on the planet. We're all interacting. We're all moving that way, right? And that energy is coming from love, right? And that love comes from light. Right? Photosynthesis is the tree using light energy to help it transform, right? The energy within us, the light energy, helps us give it back to them.
Okay.
Right? We're all interconnected. You can't slice light up, move it like that, because at your core, you're light. Isn't that crazy? Someone says, how fast are you? Say, I'm 186,000 miles per second. That's how fast light is. And many people get it wrong, right? They think light comes from the sun. But the sun doesn't give you light. The sun just gave you light. We'll just burn up. There'll be some randomness. Light gives you the sun.
Oh, wow.
Right? And that's in every spiritual practice. If you took it to just a Jewish practice or even a Christian practice, in the beginning, let there be light. And there was. And then later on, he broke up the day and the night.
So I guess my lesson for Ubuntu today was, because I have a limited amount of breath, I shouldn't be wasting it on some dumb crap.
Right. Or it's smart. It's only the quality of what you took into it was the quality of your perception of how it's how you perceive it. If you looked at it as, man, you just here to annoy me, I'm just, then that's what's going to become dumb crap. But if you looked at it as, wait a second, the universe loved me so much that it brought this energy into my realm and revealed to me that there's a part of me that I need to look at and work on. Right? And I'm learning this concept by which I address myself first, I take myself out of danger, and learn to have empathy for the other, right? Because the quality of how I feel about myself is directly linked to the quality of how the other person feels. And we're always happy as our saddest person within our human chain or human link, or actually on the planet in general. Because we're all interconnected. That's why I am because you are. So if you are because of who she is. So when that interaction occurred, if you can look to yourself to say, hold on, what annoyed me about her? Change that, do the turnaround. What about me does that remind me? Part of me I need to deal with that I've been ignoring that reminds me of. And how can I spend that time in that space? That's where the growth comes. That's when we start turning things around, right? That's when we start taking that energy, turning it to love, bringing it back.
Well, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Ubuntu lesson for today.
Yes, that was what it is.
Awesome. So I learned a lot today. Any final words about Ubuntu?
Yes, thank you. One is, I got to run about 10 times today. Someone cut me off, So I want us all to think this path here. If we can set our intention to say, we're going to focus on this. If we focus on Ubuntu, then we become practicing it. If we begin practicing it, it will become our habits, right? And your habits will show you who you love. You show me your habits, I'll show you your lover, right? So we can become that. That'll become the thing that we love. And that can be the thing that can transform us and get us through this process. I just want you to know that. And we've known that for years.
Wow.
We're just falling away from the practice of with that each other. So Ubuntu to you.
Ubuntu to you too. So hopefully this will help someone else embrace that Ubuntu and think about those things when they really get on your nerves. They're like, why is it getting on your nerves? And while you're allowing it to get on your nerves, what is it about you that you can just fix to echo out that you want to come back in?
Break it down, T.
I did it. I did it. Well, all right then. Well, thank you so much for embracing me and helping me embrace my Ubuntu and just giving me all this knowledge and all this wisdom. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you for the conversation.
All right.
Or the dialogue.
Yes.
The dialogue.
Another great show. Ubuntu philosophy, the key to harmony. If everyone took that and embraced that philosophy, makes you wonder, where would this world be? So if you have any questions for Mallom, send me an email at info@terradoneent.com. That's info@terradoneent.com. He'll make a video answering your questions. Until next time, be safe. Salute.